Hello my loyal companions, welcome back to the channel and to another episode of Rogue Revealed, the series where I take you through everything you need to know about Rogue Company. In today's video we're going to be bringing back another map guide, today looking at Vice. If you do go on to enjoy the video or learn something new, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to this channel, but for now, let's get into it. Having a look at the overview of Vice on the map, you can see your defense side spawning up here on the left and your attacking side spawning over here on the right, with the bomb sites B and A closely linked to that defense side as per usual. This is also your standard kind of 3-lane map system where you have a site going down B, one going down A, and one going straight through here in the middle. But the unique thing about this map is there's a lot of crossover and a lot of points of entry from the different sides from mid. You have a gap here, there's a wall here, we'll talk about later to jump over, some here, and one right at the back of the map. And as well on this side, there's more entry points that way, meaning the map flows really well across the different lanes quite well. The map is quite a long range map, and despite the amount of intersections there are between the different lanes, there is quite a long rotation time, so you do need to make sure you're quick with them, you're aware of where the enemy positions are, and you're moving to map that as best as possible. Looking at an overview of the map, you can see because there is so much linking and intersection between these, they kind of flow into each other. But your main areas are up the top here. This section, this long hallway down by B is a really big point of contention if they're pushing B. Obviously in mid is probably one of the biggest, because that's where you'll see the rotations, that's where you'll see people jumping over the walls, that's where you'll see people trying to move to the other site. So it's a really big point to fight there, and is generally quite a good spot with some decent cover to actually fight within. And then A side itself, which I think is the more popular site, is a very open space area with good cover still. There's a lot of different angles on this side of the map where you can crossfire and team shoot and things like that. So it is very interesting, and it's a great place for utility to be used as well. Looking at some main points of interest, I'm going to start down at the bottom of A side, and that's going to be here, which is really more of a defending spot. It's this little area you can sit up on the wall to peek over onto the main approach for attackers to shoot them as they come across. The next spot I want to look at is this intersection area near A, just to the left, that will go sort of into mid, kind of, and is this little room which is really interesting, and actually a lot of action happens around it. There's a really big flank point for some different rogues. You have to be really careful when you're in here. As I said, a lot of fights do occur, and you have to make sure that you're using your audio to listen if people are approaching down the different alleyways. Audio, I think more than anything, is really good here, and this is where you'll see a lot of smoke grenades happen, a lot of Molotovs actually going down, and a lot of other equipment and gadgets and utility being used in this particular room. I see a lot of anvils as well actually blocking off the different entranceways with their wall, because you don't really want to have to deal with it. And it also has quite a lot of angles that are quite good to get onto site, so it is a bit of a power position on this side of the map. I've talked a little about these different wall jumps, and if we have a look at this location through here in mid, you'll see the two different jumps of the wall that help you rotate from the mid to A or from the mid to B. These wall jumps are actually quite a unique feature in the game. I think there's only one other mapping thing that has something like this, and that is Factory, which has a one-way wall jump. But these are really good, and you should be playing around them, or at least be aware of them, and listen for the audio of when people are kind of approaching them, because they'll probably jump over. You can actually, from the outside of it, so when you're looking to jump into mid, stand up on the boxes that are around it, jump up and down without mantling over, and peek over at the fountains, see what's around you before you actually commit to the jump. This is a really useful strategy I use, and you'll see a lot in my gameplay. Going on to then the B site, what you'll see here is I've highlighted a specific area within B site which gives you a little bit of a height advantage, and sometimes can throw the enemies off guard when they come around the corners, that they don't expect to look up there and see somebody. So it is quite a useful spot. You can jump up on the container here and maybe get a free kill that way. The last spot I want to mention is all the way here at the back of the map, right in the defender's spawn, and I want to highlight this because it's a really good rotation and flank route if you want to go for a super long flank. A lot of people will, if they're expecting a flank, look down this long straight here, but they won't expect you to come all the way around the back down this way, and it offers a lot of good movement between the different sides of the map from the spawn. So someone like a Lancer here is really effective because you can get right behind the enemies, and it's not a place a lot of people really consider when using this map. Okay, going into the main defending routes that I like to take on this map, you want to cover every single entrance really, at least the main ones, and you have to make sure your rotations are quick and your callouts are good or your pings are good, so your team know where to rotate. The general setup I like to have is to have one B, generally with some sort of long range gun, but you can swap this out for somebody with a bit of crowd control. Down here, either right back here on this angle to look down this long straight, or on this sort of gap into it here, because that's a good spot to hold as well. Then you want somebody who is able to look over mid. You really don't need more than one person here, as long as they're not over challenging the angle. They can hold it and just give you the information from it. Here I would suggest having some sort of longer range rogue to take the pot shots, because it is quite a long angle from here all the way down the mid section. Then I would recommend having some sort of either hard zone control like an anvil, or some sort of flanker in this area here in the little tunnel that I mentioned, little room, because they have to really focus on winning a 1v1 in this if they want to control that position, and then enables them to have a really good flank off, either going down behind mid, behind A, or looping all the way around to behind B. Is a really good spot for a flanker to be and utilize those wall jumps I mentioned before. And the last position that you really want to hold, either again it could be a longer range rogue or could be somebody with a bit of zone control, is this spot just here. Up on that wall jump that I mentioned, or somewhere just around that area to cover those angles. Going into the attack, then I'm going to focus first on attacking A, and again I would recommend putting that flanker somewhere down that middle little room that I mentioned to win that 1v1 and control that power position. The rest of the people I would recommend going onto the A site because it's quite a wide site. You can really spread out against the wall here. You have to make sure that if they push really hard onto the site, like where I told the defenders to go, or even further because they can get a bit further, that they are clearing them out first and then pushing through as a unit. You have to be really coordinated here and not just get yourself picked. But when you get to this edge of the balcony here and you can set up on these walls, you can look for a pick and then move onto the site that way. As long as you control these two positions, you can actually plant the bomb right on the planter here with a really good cover and not get shot. Going on to the attack on B, it's basically the same formula, except your flanker probably wants to be hovering somewhere more around the longer mid angle, but they can, if you're confident that your attackers on the B side won't push too hard and wait for you, you can go for a bit of a longer flank round A or even through the room again. But then your other three people want to be going straight up down here onto the B side and just clearing the different angles. You need to make sure that you're also kind of watching your back, that you're watching down the tunnel that goes onto the B site, and you're watching for the massive angle and the potential sniper that is going to be sitting at the back of the site. Your general formula though is to move through methodically as a team, get some picks, get some kills, and then use your advantage that way. This isn't a sort of hard breach map, it really isn't, it can't be. So you have to be trying to go off picks here, going off really good positioning and going off team shooting, as that's the more predominant method on this map. So what are the best rogues for this? Or in attack, I put Phantom. Now, it could be argued that she could be good on attack or defense given the nature of the long range map. But the problem is because it's so long range, and the general problem with Phantom is that you take the shot if you're on defense and then they get revived. So it's not as useful on defense, which is why I put her mainly on attack. Now, the same argument can be made that, well, you get a snipe on attack and then, they just revive them. That's true. But what happens is when you down someone as a sniper on attack, you down them, that takes one person out of the fight, and the person reviving them out of the fight, as long as they're not like a Saint or a Dahlia, which means you're then moving into sort of this 4v2 scenario, at least for a little bit, and that gives you an advantage to start the push, and that's what you need on this map. You need to look for a window of opportunity, either from getting a pick, getting a down, or getting a kill, to then move on, push the site, and gain control that way. Onto your rogues who are better at defending. I think Talon is a phenomenal defensive rogue here because of the way he can use his dart. His dart, because of the nature of this map and getting information, is really important. You want to be throwing out that dart, getting some information, reclaiming it, and then putting it somewhere else that is useful. That is generally a really good method, and I think this works best on defense, as you don't tend to use the dart super aggressively that often on the attacking side, but you can. Anvil, I have mentioned, is useful sometimes on this map for blocking off different pathings. I said that is Anvil's real main use, is blocking off pathings or blocking off some sort of plant. So having him there to put a shield down, blocking off some sort of entrance, could be really good for defense as well. And then Dahlia, I put it as a really good defensive rogue as well, due to the nature of her DMR on this map. I think is really good. The healing ability that she has with one person, you tend to have this almost 2-2 split on defense. So you buddy up with whoever you're with, stick with them, and then you can move as a unit really well as two. And she kind of fulfills a lot of roles, which I think best suit the defending side of this map rather than the attacking. Then finally, rogues that I think will fit into all the roles include Dallas because of his long-range nature and the reveal to get additional information, Lancer for her flanking ability, which of course is key, and Saint for the fact that he can revive at these really long ranges with the drone, which is incredibly useful on this map due to the long-range nature of it. So going on then to my summary and final tips for Vice, the first one is going to be, as I've said, you're looking for picks on this map, not necessarily hard breach. You want to be looking to get some sort of down, get some sort of kill, and then use that to push your advantage. You're not trying to just spam demonades, spam grenades, spam flash grenade onto a site. That can work, but given how open all the sites are and how open all the approaches to the sites are, you're likely going to get beamed even if you do use that sort of utility. But that does sort of lead on to my next tip, which is actually to use smoke grenades to your advantage. I love running a smoke on this map for many different reasons that I've sort of gone over in my smoke grenade video. You can use it to block off a res, you can use it to block off a line of sight mostly though, and that is what you kind of want to be focusing around, is blocking off one of these really awkward long angles and using that as another opportunity to push on and get a bit of an edge, maybe get a pick off that, and then you have a bit more control over the map. My next tip is for attackers, and that is to be really flexible in transitioning between the different lanes of the map, and it kind of applies to defense as well, but you need to make sure that if you're trying to attack A and you're not getting that pick, maybe try and hard rush B instead. Don't make it super obvious, of course, because they'll just match you and they'll be fine, but given the short angles of this map, you want to be trying to set up for a rotation at some point, maybe send 2 people to sort of half rotate, cover the angle that the enemy team will re-rotate for you on, and then your team can then go and finish the rotation that way. Setting up something like that where you are thinking about your rotations is really important on this map, because like I said, it's all about getting picks. So if you can't get those picks on one site, maybe you have to change up your game plan a little bit, and that adaptability is really important. My final tip is going to be really careful of your flank protection on both sides of this map. The reason for this is because it is a very flank heavy map. There's a lot of good angles to flank from and a lot of good rotations to flank from. So you need to make sure that you probably have somebody at least half watching your back, or having some sort of system there like a talon dart to watch your back, because if you do get flanked, it can be pretty deadly on this map particularly, and you want to have someone there to watch out for it. Okay then guys, that takes us to the end of the video. If you did enjoy, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to this channel. You can also come follow me on twitch.tv/RadtharGaming to see live game commentaries, guides, Q&As, and live tournament gameplay. So make sure you come check me out over there. All the links you're going to need are in the description below. But for now guys, I hope you have a fantastic day. And remember, be loyal, be brave, be relentless. I'll see you in the next video.